We found an abandoned house in the woods. I wish we hadn't gone down to the basement. Mike and I had been friends since school. We would always go on these adventures as we lived by a huge national forest. We normally stuck to the trails and always kept a compass with us. It was of course easy to get lost in the woods. We had planned to head out early one day and try to go further than we had ventured before. He came to my house just after 6 a.m., and I drove us over to a clearing in the forest. We used this as well as others as a start point to the many trails that meandered off into the woods. Most of these we had walked for many years, all of them sign-posted and color-coded. That way you could find your way back. We took the red route, this then merged onto the purple route. We got about 4 hours into our hike when we came across a half-covered sign up ahead. Underneath the sign it looked like an old track ran straight through the forest. Of course it looked unused in years, but still distinguishable against the surrounding foliage. "Let's follow it for a few clicks," Mike suggested, his eyes gleaming with curiosity, "see if it goes anywhere." I was hesitant, but the temptation of exploration lured me in. I nodded in agreement. The track had been reclaimed by the forest and was difficult to follow, but sure enough through the trees we could see a building up ahead. We must have walked the uneven track about half an hour already, so we could do with a rest. As we neared the building a few hand-written signs welcomed us: "Keep out, private property," and "Trespassers will be shot." The place was obviously abandoned, the threats hollow. The door was chained shut, rust covering the metal. We found a broken piece of iron fencing and, after a few failed attempts, snapped the brittle lock. The chain fell away with a painful screech, and we pried the door open, releasing a cloud of dust. As we walked in, the floorboards creaked and the rooms echoed. The place looked untouched since the 80s at least. Streams of light filtered through the boarded-up windows, exposing boar and stag heads hung around the room. We split up. Mike took the stairs while I explored the kitchen. The house, though heavily decayed, was eerily pristine, as if someone had meticulously preserved it. "Anything up there, Mike?" I called out, my voice breaking the uneasy silence. "Nah, man," he shouted back. "Just dusty as hell." I nervously laughed and agreed. My humor drained as I noticed faint tapping coming from the door beneath the staircase. I tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. "Mike, get down here, help me with this door," I yelled. Together, we both pulled at the doorknob. We heard a small click, and as it began to whine open, the hinges screamed at us in protest. We both turned our flashlights to the opening. There was a staircase leading to a basement. The steps were crooked and disjointed. We held on to the wooden rail as we descended. There was an old switch that illuminated at the bottom. I tried flicking it. Nothing, as I expected. We flooded the room with our flashlights. There were glass cases lining the wall with a central case in the middle. All of them covered in a thick layer of dust. "Jesus," Mike whispered, gagging. "It smells like something died in here." I took a large gulp. "This doesn't feel right, man." "Oh, fuck," Mike gasped, his voice quivering. "What the hell is that?" I turned my light to him. He'd wiped off the dirt that covered glass case, revealing a waxy figure of a woman, her features grotesquely distorted. I felt a lump at the back of my throat once more. "What the hell is this place, man?" We wiped a few more, and again our eyes were met with more creepy-looking wax-like dolls, all clothed in ball gowns. Their polished eyes seemed to follow our every move. "This is fucked up, dude," I muttered, while trying to keep composed. Mike's voice broke. "That's nothing, dude. Look in the middle case." There hanging was the clothed remains of a person bound together by former muscles. I retracted back, nearly dropping my flashlight. "We need to get out of here, Mike. This place feels rotten." I noticed a withered yellow-stained envelope on a small wooden table next to the central case. We heard a loud tap on one of the glass cases behind us. We nearly jumped out of our skin. Mike stuttered, "Grab it and run. I don't care what it is, we need to go." As we began to climb the stairs, multiple thuds echoed out behind us, like the cased occupants were trying to get free. As we got to the top, the deafening sound of screams followed. We crashed the door shut and ran out of that place like there was no tomorrow. We were spooked. We felt like we had just crawled out of hell. We didn't stop running until we came to the trail point once again. This trip was over for us. We didn't want to be in this forest anymore. We got back to my car about 3 hours later. We sat disheveled in the front seats. I pulled the envelope from my coat pocket and opened it. A handwritten note was inside. Here is what the note read: "Hello, I am a self-titled collector. There are many people who collect many different things in this world. Some collect antiques while others collect paintings. I know one thing though. Everyone collects things of beauty. I wasn't always a collector though, no. I worked for the family business. We were animal technicians. We would prepare deceased pets and hunters' trophies as preserved things of beauty. I was good, maybe the best at what I did. For 20 years I was a master taxidermist. One day a family came to me with an offer. It was a rare one and one which I hadn't come across before. They wanted me to work on a deceased relative. It was the family's and the deceased person's wish to preserve them forever. At first, I was horrified, but they were willing to pay 5 times my yearly salary. I spoke with my 2 brothers and father. They opposed it profusely. They said it was immoral, forbidden, and above all illegal. After this point I left the family business, due to creative differences. I set up a small business of my own. I was in control. I worked on the family's relative, a thing of beauty. Capturing someone eternally is something to be admired, no. I didn't get another offer of this kind, but it intrigued my creativity. The first of my collection came by chance. I was often lonely and needed some company. I lived out of the way, not many people, only the odd hiker. I preferred it like that. I picked up a young lady as she was working her usual spot on an evening in a town about 10 miles away. We went back to my place and things got a bit crazy. A mixture of pills and alcohol were the main guests at our party. When I became more aware a few hours later, my company had unfortunately expired. Such a pretty young thing, I couldn't just let her fade away into dust. She needed to be frozen in time. I was the one that could make that happen, an everlasting beauty. I cleaned her up and worked my magic. She was a natural masterpiece. Once I had finished, I dressed her in a stunning yellow dress. She was ready for her podium. I placed young Monique behind a glass case with a small plaque, "Monique, the original beauty." This, unbeknown to me, would be the first of many. I must admit the many accidents may have been slightly forced by me. What can I say? I was impatient. My collection now stands at over 43 individual pieces of elegance. They are all lavishly dressed and cased, stood in an eternal walkway of the exquisite and grace. Many may have other feelings towards what I do, what I collect, but after all I only encapsulate a brief moment of life, and present it eternally. I have nearly completed my collection, after all these years. As I place the last case in the center of my hall of trophies, I fit the rope to the top of my podium. I will not be preserved, I will not be eternal, but at least I will be surrounded by pure, beautiful artistry. People will not understand. Here is art, for you all to see. Please enjoy my collection. Signed, M.T. I felt sick. Even writing this back now makes every hair on my body stand on end. the thought of being surrounded by all of that death in one room made my skin crawl. We both decided to report this to the police with this note as evidence. They searched for miles into the woods, for days, weeks even. They found no buildings, no signs or anything. I think they even started believing that we had made it all up as some sick joke. It just didn't make sense, it wasn't hidden at all. We both didn't understand, but we know what we saw out there. The proof was written in the twisted note. We haven't been in that forest since, heck we ain't even spoke about it. Well, that was until this morning. Because today I received a letter addressed to me. I opened it. Inside was an invitation to a new art exhibit. Titled, The Collection. My hands shook as I unfolded the card. Beneath the printed text was a handwritten message, "Monique would love to see you again." It was signed, simply, empty.